Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to another Death Battle review. Now, I know I haven't uploaded any new Death Battle reviews since Spawn vs. Kratos, and even then that was an older episode. And I was originally going to skip this one, like I did with the two most recent ones, The Boys Battle Royale and Sonic vs. Flash. However, one of my sources did notify me that this was going to be a live action death battle, and I saw it on my recommended list, so I decided, you know what, screw it, I'll take a look, because they haven't done a live action fight since Nightwing versus Daredevil, and I was interested to see how it would go, to see if that very first one was just a fluke, or if Death Battle does have what it takes to potentially carry on Deadliest Warrior's legacy. Now, one of the reasons why I've been slowing down Death Battle reviews, especially in regards to the newer episodes, is because I've been getting sick of Death Battle and having to make the same arguments and criticisms over and over and over again, because Death Battle makes the same mistakes over and over and over again, and of course, Rooster Teeth is always constantly blocking my videos no matter what I do, so thanks for that, Rooster Teeth, ya dicks. You're a real sweetheart, Rooster Teeth. So, let's take a look. Now, normally this would be the part of the review where I show you footage of the death battle and the episode itself, especially in regards to the results and analysis, but oh right, Rooster Teeth won't let me, so all I'm going to be able to do is just talk in front of a frickin' thumbnail. Thanks, Rooster Teeth. Love you. But with that out of the way, here is a heavily compromised review of Winter Soldier versus Red Hood. I do this for you guys out of love. So let's start with the thing I always start with, the matchup itself. And those of you who are familiar with my reviews may already know how I'm going to react to this one. And yes, sadly, Death Battle has become so predictable, they have indirectly made me become predictable because I have to keep making the same criticisms again and again. But yes, Red Hood versus Winter Soldier. Not only another trendy matchup, but a borderline mirror matchup. And the only thing that could have made this even more annoying is if they released this back when the Winter Soldier movie came out, or if it turned out there was a Red Hood movie coming out. Thankfully, they didn't do that, but even then, it doesn't make it any less frustrating, because I've already explained in great detail why mirror matchups and trendy matchups don't work. It's because they're lazy. That is why. Because I'm not going to continue to make the same points over and over and over again. I'm just going to simply put it like this. It's lazy. And in regards to trendy matchups, they're used for one reason and one reason only. A cheap ploy to get trends. It's the equivalent of someone jumping on a bandwagon or retweeting some kind of meme that they know is popular because they know it'll get them attention and views. That's all this really is. You really think Death Battle does these matchups because they think they will be very entertaining? No, of course not. They do mirror and trendy matchups because they're easy and they're safe, and more times than not, their audience rarely ever asks for anything more. So, yes, this is what we get. And I'm sick and tired of these types of matchups. They are so boring and they're difficult to criticize because there's rarely ever anything to them. And this is one I've been seeing for a long time, and since Death Battle's out of ideas, they just decided, oh well, let's do Winter Soldier versus Red Hood. That was another one a lot of people were asking about. Even though Death Battle should know better, but whatever. And this is yet another frickin' Marvel versus DC matchup. because we just can't get enough of those, can we, boys? We have to keep doing Marvel vs. DC, and we have to keep running that into the ground until people finally lose their freaking minds. Again, and again, and again, and again, just, this is like, what? The 20th time they've done a Marvel vs. DC matchup? Honestly, at this point, I have lost count, and I'm sick of seeing the same matchup again, and again, and again, and again.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
It is incredibly maddening because it makes me feel like I'm losing my damn mind. It makes me feel like I'm in Groundhog Day because I'm constantly criticizing the same matchup. And you can change, you can say whatever you want about these matchups. You can say, oh, they're different or they have some other gimmick, but here's the thing. It's the same concept with a slightly different gimmick. That's all it is. Just because WWE will occasionally throw a crappy gimmick on one of their shitty wrestlers doesn't change the fact that they're still a shitty wrestler. And that's what these matchups are. They're the equivalent of a bland jobber in WWE. And I'm sick and tired of seeing them. But I won't focus too much on that because I've already dedicated way too much time talking about these matchups. If you want to hear more, if you're new to the channel, check out any of my other reviews where I explain why mirror and trendy matchups blow. So let's get to the main event, the thing that actually got me to watch this episode, and that was the live action fight. Was it worth it? I will say yes, kind of. Though, I don't know if I can say it's as good as Daredevil vs. Nightwing. I may need to rewatch it again. But it was fairly solid, to say the least. Now, I will be critiquing this one differently than I normally do, because unlike the other death battles, this is not an animation, this is a live action fight with stunts, choreography, and acting, so it will be judged differently. And in regards to the actors they got, they seemingly did a good job. No real poor acting that I could think of, but they weren't exactly stellar performances, but then again, that's not the point. Now, I don't know if these are professional actors or just stuntmen. My guess would be they're probably just talented stuntmen because they're there literally to fight, not put on some kind of spellbinding performance. And they did do a good job. They were believable. There was no slip-ups or anything that I could think of. The only thing I can really say about it is the guy they got to play Jason Todd did seem a little bit on the annoying side. Now, not in the traditional way. It kind of reminded me of Spider-Man and Deadpool and any of the characters in the MCU films, where they feel the need to constantly spout catchphrases, one-liners, commentate on the fight, or drop jokes. Now, it wasn't pushed to that annoying degree like with Deadpool, thank God, or like with the MCU, where they have no sense of tone. For the most part, he still remains serious, which I'm grateful for, because we know how Death Battle is, where they just love to just throw in jokes, even at the expense of the fight itself. And thankfully, they didn't do anything too stupid there, and the choreography is pretty good. We got a nice balance of gunplay, knife fights, and of course some hand-to-hand martial arts. And it was shot pretty well, not too close, not too far. The camera does do a good job just focusing on them rather than using a bunch of shaky cam. Now, I was dreading the thought of Death Battle doing that, and thankfully, Death Battle has more sense than a lot of action movie directors nowadays, where they will like to use shaky cam to hide the fact that their actors cannot do any realistic stunts or martial arts, so they'll just shake the camera and cut it in a very quick way. And the editing was also pretty good. It was very fast-paced, which was good, but it wasn't so fast-paced that the fight became incomprehensible and you couldn't tell what was going on. Cough, Ari, the final chapter. Cough. So I can say the fight, at least, was very solid, very well shot. The editing was really good. There was thankfully no obnoxious shaky cam to obscure the fact that they hired half-ass stuntmen. So I can at least give Death Battle props there. Now, the only thing that I could say that I really didn't enjoy was the music. Now, the music wasn't really bad, just kind of forgettable. It wasn't obnoxious or repetitive like the soundtrack in the Zuko fight, for example, where it was just extremely repetitive, but it just didn't really stand out all that much to me. Death Battle has produced some pretty good soundtracks, like the one from Raiden vs. Wolverine, which is so good, I actually have it on my YouTube playlist, and I will listen to it on occasion. So I know Death Battle can produce good soundtracks, so I don't know why this one was so forgettable. And again, it's not bad, it just didn't really stand out all that much to me. I definitely felt like they could have maybe tried something a little bit more here. Maybe something that felt a little bit more like from some kind of spy or assassin movie like John Wick. That could have been interesting. But again, I won't complain too much because those are kind of small things. And even if the soundtrack was horrible, it wouldn't have been enough to detract from the fight itself, which again is good. However, there is one criticism I do have with the fight, and that's the ending. The ending is just extremely abrupt and underwhelming. Winter Soldier just grabs Red Hood's mask and he dies, that's it. He crushes his skull. Like, really? No gore effects? No blood? Come on, Death Battle. You couldn't get some makeup artist? Or at least use some crappy CGI to give us some gore? I mean, come on. Deadliest Warrior would give us all kinds of amazing, bloody, gory kills. You did the same thing with Nightwing versus Daredevil, where Nightwing just punches Daredevil with his electric gauntlet and he's dead. I mean, what the heck, Death Battle? I mean, you're well known for killing characters in gruesome ways, so why was this so underwhelming? The fight itself is fine, but the ending is just underwhelming as hell. I don't get what they were going for. Like, did they just not have a budget for any gore effects? I don't get it. But overall, I will at least say that this was good. Now, this is the frustrating part about it, because Death Battle could do stuff like this more often, and it would be good. See, people ask me, why do you continue to be so hard on shows like Death Battle? You have standards that are far too high, but really my standards are not that high. I mean, if Death Battle produced stuff like this more often, I would give them a lot more praise, because stuff like this is far more interesting than just cheap sprite animation. Tell me something. For any Death Battle fans who watch my videos, tell me, which of these looks better to you? A live-action fight that requires a lot of talent and can look really good when they're done right, or some cheap sprite animation? Which looks better to you? Honestly. Can you please give me an honest response in the comments if you are watching? And that's the thing. Death Battle could carry on the legacy of Deadliest Warrior if they wanted to, if they actually put in the effort to do so, because Death Battle did cite Deadliest Warrior as one of their inspirations. Why not carry on their legacy by doing fights like this more often? Sure, they would require more time, and they would also require a lot of money, but here's the thing. Death Battle is not short on money by any stretch of the imagination. I've spoken about this before on Twitter and in other videos, but Death Battle makes on average over $150,000, and that's just from their YouTube alone. Their YouTube ad revenue and their sponsorships get them over $100,000. That's not counting their merch store. So don't tell me that Death Battle doesn't have the budget to make this stuff. They absolutely do. I have seen fan films made by non-profit people that look better than some of the movies themselves. Like, I have seen Star Wars fan films like The Apprentice and Vader Shards of the Past that are so good, they look better than the actual Star Wars movies in terms of quality, storytelling, effects, etc. So don't tell me that just because Death Battle are YouTubers, they can't produce episodes that are on par with something like Deadliest Warrior. They absolutely could. The problem is, Death Battle wants to stick to their crappy upload schedule, and they just don't feel like putting in the effort. They'd much rather just spam us with a bunch of crappy sprite animations rather than actually giving us stuff like this, which is far more impressive. Now, that's not me saying that Death Battle doesn't have talented animators and that being an animator doesn't require a lot of talent, but when you waste so much time on these cheap, lazy sprite animations, and yes, a lot of Versus shows do sprite animations because they're cheap, they're fast, and they're easy. Something like this requires a lot of time and a lot of talent. And they're far more impressive. I'd much rather prefer this. Now, in the animation field, I would also like to see nicely animated fights, especially for the anime characters, and I would like to hope that Death Battle would maybe hire some hand-drawn animators to actually make this look like an anime, but odds are that's just wish fulfillment. But let's get into the other things about this Death Battle, and that is the research and results. Now, to be honest, I cannot say for certain whether they screwed up the results or not, because I'm not overly familiar with these characters. My only knowledge about Red Hood comes from the Arkham games, and my only knowledge about the Winter Soldier comes from the MCU, which does take a lot of liberties with the source material. But odds are, if they did screw this up, Sir Splash will debunk it, and will likely debunk it better than I ever could, but I will check in with my boy Tim and see what he thinks, because he really knows his comic book stuff. But from what I can tell, the research seemed fine for the most part, and the results, based on how Death Battle explained it, now we know Death Battle is known for lying, but at least from what I can tell, this seemed fairly accurate, and I even liked that they took the time to point out how one of Red Hood's feats with Supergirl was not to be taken at face value, because there was much more to the feat than that, and you would think that, knowing Death Battle, they would likely use that as a opportunity to highball or wank Red Hood to some kind of level that he isn't, so they could easily say Red Hood wins, and I'll give Death Battle credit for not doing that. But again, this is Death Battle, odds are there might be some kind of feat that they screwed up. But at least from what I can tell, it was fine, and it goes without saying, the humor, cringe, total waste of time. Death Battle really needs to either stop with the humor or at least cut back on it heavily, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. Death Battle. Nobody is coming to hear your shitty lame jokes. If we wanted to come for the jokes, we would go to a YouTube channel that specializes in comedy, like the AVGN. You do not do that. And even then, your jokes are subpar, basic B-word material at best. Similar to that of MatPat, stop with the jokes. I hate it when Death Battle feels the need to bring the episode to a screeching halt just so they can say a lame joke. And if you've seen my review of Ichigo versus Naruto, where I played the Death Battle drinking game, you know that Death Battle's humor is so cringy and so just... It's always there, like they have to keep cranking up the humor, and every time they do so, it gets to the point where if you're playing the Death Battle drinking game, every time you take a shot, when they make a cringy joke, odds are Death Battle might accidentally kill you because of their lame humor. Now, I know I've had some fans say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I like coming for the humor. Like, why do I have to take this seriously? Gosh. And it's just like, really, dude? Now, look, I'm not saying that Death Battle's not allowed to tell jokes, but here's the thing. If you're going to bring the episode to a screeching halt so you can tell a crappy joke, can you at least make sure the joke is funny? And can you also tell Boomstick to stop with the puns? They just get worse and worse over time, and puns are the worst kind of humor. Anyway, that's that. I can't think of any other things that were really good or bad from this, and my main gripes are mostly with the matchup and the ending of the fight. The fight itself was solid. The music was mostly forgettable. It could have been better. But everything else here with the fight is good, and at least for now, the research seemed like it was at least decent. I'm not going to say it was good research, but it seemed to be decent research. But if they did screw this up, I have no problem debunking it. But again, odds are, just look for Sir Splash's debunking if you want to see if they screwed this up, because odds are he'll take care of it. So, my final score for this episode will be a 7 out of 10, and I'm being extremely generous here. I cannot stress that enough. Originally, I was going to give this a 5 out of 10, but on further inspection, with the exception of the god-awful matchup, the underwhelming ending, and the forgettable music, everything else here was good for the most part, so I'll be generous and give it a 6 out of 10. Now, I think I prefer Nightwing versus Daredevil over this, but that might just be a personal preference. Maybe we'll take a closer look and see how these fights compare. But for now, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's not that bad compared to other episodes, but given the fact that this is Death Battle, we've seen how low the bar has been set by Death Battle. Also, with the inevitable dread of me having to face what may very well be a matchup worse than even Jiren versus Saitama, which was a matchup so bad, it managed to surpass Naruto versus Ichigo in how bad it was. At this point, I'll take what I can get from Death Battle, because when that episode comes out, ooh, that's not going to be pretty, and I'm probably going to be begging to go straight back into the arms of Death Battle almost immediately, so I'll be a little bit kind. If only just because I know I'm going to lose my damn mind when I have to deal with that other episode, but it will come in time. And I would recommend checking this out. This is a fairly solid episode. It's not as good as some of their other episodes, but hey, given what we've been getting lately, it's better than nothing, right? So let me know what you guys think of Red Hood versus Winter Soldier. Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? How do you think this one compares to Nightwing versus Daredevil? And how do you feel about me reviewing Death Battle in this style of just me talking in front of a thumbnail or screenshots of the actual episode to prevent Rooster Teeth from auto-blocking me? Because if you guys are fine with this style, that's okay. I don't personally like it because I think you guys deserve better than that, and I like to be able to show you guys what's wrong with these Death Battle episodes, but apparently Rooster Teeth will not allow me to do that. For what reason? Hell if I know. I may never know the answer. But anyway, I'll see you guys around next time, and please check out my poll. There will be a link in the description/comment section to vote on what the next video will be.